In August 1939, as Europe teetered on the edge of war, Albert Einstein signed a letter that would alter the future of civilization. Together with physicist Leo Szilard, he warned President Franklin D. Roosevelt that recent discoveries in uranium fission could lead to an extremely powerful bomb of a new type. What seemed like a theoretical note of caution became the catalyst for the most secret and expensive scientific program in history. Einstein's motives were defensive. He feared Nazi Germany might create such a weapon first. Ironically, he would later regret the letter that bore his name, calling it his greatest mistake. Yet, it was enough to catch Roosevelt's attention. Within months, the U.S. quietly began funding nuclear research, setting in motion a race that would decide not just the war, but humanity's control over nature itself. By late 1942, the race for the atom was no longer theoretical. It was industrial. Thousands of engineers and chemists across the U.S. were enlisted under military secrecy. One of the unsung breakthroughs occurred at Ames Laboratory in Iowa, where scientists developed the Ames process, a method for producing high-purity uranium metal at scale. Without it, the reactors at Hanford and the enrichment plants at Oak Ridge would have failed. Across the country, massive facilities the size of small cities were constructed overnight. In Oak Ridge, miles of piping and electromagnetic separators consumed more electricity than all of New York City. In Hanford, engineers built nuclear reactors along the Columbia River to breed plutonium, the material that would later power Fat Man. As uranium and plutonium cores were refined, tested, and prepared, scientists realized the terrifying potential of their work: the conversion of matter itself into energy through controlled annihilation. At the center of this vast operation was a desert town that officially didn't exist, Los Alamos, New Mexico. Its mailing address was a post office box in Santa Fe, its location omitted from all maps. Here, the government assembled the world's brightest minds under total secrecy. Every letter was censored, every phone call monitored. Even the scientists' families knew little about their work. To lighten the suffocating atmosphere, someone created a comic that became an inside joke, a cartoon of a man's rear end captioned, "Are your drawers closed?" It was both humor and warning. Always lock your file cabinets, never speak about your work. The culture of paranoia was absolute. What united these people, despite isolation, exhaustion, and secrecy, was a single, invisible goal: to end the war before the Axis powers could do the same. The man who made this enormous machine function was General Leslie R. Groves, a brilliant but uncompromising engineer. Fresh from completing the Pentagon, Groves was handpicked to lead the Manhattan Engineer District. He understood logistics on a level few others could. Within months, he secured top scientists, built secret cities, and funneled billions of dollars into research that Congress barely knew existed. Groves demanded perfection and tolerated no delays. He clashed with scientists, intimidated contractors, and micromanaged operations from reactor design to cafeteria rations. Yet his iron discipline kept the project alive. Without Groves, the Manhattan Project might have dissolved under its own complexity. His partnership with Oppenheimer was uneasy, one a military pragmatist, the other a philosophical physicist. But together, they became the dual architects of the atomic age. J. Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb, was a paradox. A poet and a physicist, fluent in multiple languages, quoting Sanskrit and Dante while calculating nuclear cross-sections. At Los Alamos, he became the intellectual heart of the project, assembling minds like Enrico Fermi, Richard Feynman, Niels Bohr, and Edward Teller. Oppenheimer turned abstract equations into engineering, figuring out how to force atoms to collapse in on themselves and unleash energy equivalent to thousands of tons of TNT. As deadlines tightened, Los Alamos became a crucible of invention and pressure. Scientists worked 18-hour days, living with the knowledge that failure could prolong the war, and success could forever change human existence. By mid-1945, they had designed two weapons: Little Boy, a uranium bomb using a gun-type assembly, and Fat Man, a plutonium implosion device, a concept so complex that its success depended on fractions of microseconds. In the early hours of July 16, 1945, the world's first atomic device, codenamed Gadget, sat atop a 100-foot steel tower in the desert of Alamogordo, New Mexico. At 5:29 a.m., the bomb detonated with a light brighter than the sun and a shock wave that rolled across the desert for miles. The explosion released the energy of roughly 21 kilotons of TNT, vaporizing the tower and turning sand into green, glass-like trinitite. The fireball rose into a towering mushroom cloud, the first man-made sunrise of the nuclear age. Some scientists cheered. Others stood in stunned silence. Oppenheimer later recalled a verse from the Bhagavad Gita: "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." Within weeks, 2 atomic bombs would be dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, killing over 200,000 people and ending the Second World War. But the celebration of victory was quickly shadowed by unease. They had built something no one could ever truly control. After the test, some at Los Alamos tried to justify the bomb as necessary to end the war swiftly and save millions of lives. Others, like Richard Feynman, struggled with guilt and disbelief. Feynman later recalled driving through the empty streets of Los Alamos after Japan's surrender, realizing that the purpose of their existence, the secrecy, the exhaustion, the urgency, had vanished overnight. Oppenheimer himself became increasingly tormented. He met with President Truman in 1945 and admitted, "Mr. President, I feel I have blood on my hands." Truman reportedly replied, "The blood is on mine, not yours, and don't ever come to me with that nonsense again." That exchange symbolized the shift from scientific control to political power. The scientists who had created the bomb would no longer decide how it was used. Life at Los Alamos was both ordinary and surreal. Families lived behind barbed wire, attending dances and movie nights, while mere yards away, engineers assembled plutonium cores by hand. Children rode bicycles past military guards who carried rifles. Everything inside the town, from grocery stores to post offices, was controlled by the Army. Yet, despite the pressure, a strange camaraderie developed. Scientists debated philosophy at dinner, wrote music, and built makeshift communities. They celebrated victory in 1945, but also felt an unspoken dread that the world they'd helped create would never be the same. When the news of Hiroshima broke, cheers quickly turned to silence. One physicist, Kenneth Bainbridge, summed it up bluntly after Trinity: "Now we are all sons of bitches." After the war, the Manhattan Project dissolved into bureaucracy, replaced by the Atomic Energy Commission, AEC, in 1946. Its purpose was to transfer nuclear research from military control to civilian oversight, though the line between the two remained thin. The Cold War began almost immediately, with the Soviet Union detonating its first bomb in 1949. Oppenheimer, who had once been hailed as a national hero, fell from grace after opposing the development of the hydrogen bomb, a weapon hundreds of times more powerful than the one dropped on Hiroshima. In 1954, his security clearance was revoked, ending his influence in American nuclear policy. The AEC meetings, filled with the very men who built the bomb, became debates about deterrence, morality, and survival. The Manhattan Project had achieved its goal, but in doing so it had permanently bound human destiny to the atom. Thank you for watching my newest YouTube video. If you enjoyed the content, consider dropping a like and sub. Thank you.